How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the Apartment 40 podcast. I'm your host, as always, Peter Rocha. Today, I'm co-hosted with Sammi J. How's it going, Sam?
What's up, y'all? I'm good.
Fantastic. Our guest today is a professional French horn player, an author, and a teacher of the last 30 years. Welcome to the show, Mr. Kimball. How's it going?
Great. So good to see you guys. Former students from elementary school. Hurrah.
Yeah, awesome. Well, it's great to have you. We're really excited. So let's get into this. We'll basically just kind of get the ball rolling. Why don't you just kind of tell us what you've been up to, Mr. Kimball? It's been a while since we've seen you, since we've been in Lincoln's halls. So how you been?
Doing great, considering. I mean, it's been almost a sabbatical year in a way, because I'm doing just the teaching, but then I'm not at evening rehearsals and afternoon rehearsals. So frankly, I've been doing a lot of nature hiking.
I've seen that on Facebook. I've seen a lot of your nature posts and your trails. It looks very in tune with nature. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, why not?
That's good. Do you have like usual spots you like to go to, or are you kind of just exploring new areas that you haven't been just because you can right now?
Pretty much the latter, because there's this great app called All Trails, and I went, ooh, there are trails all over the place that I don't know about. So I've been kind of exploring that every weekend.
Yeah.
That's cool. Do you just do hiking, or do you do any fishing? Do you do anything like that? Or are you just...
Basically just hiking, because I'm not very organized. I kind of look and go, how much time do I have? So even today, I totally did a hike this morning, but it's like I've got to time it out so I'm plenty early to be back for you guys.
Nice.
Oh, okay.
I'm not that idiot going, I'm on the trail, I got lost, I'm sorry.
It would have been cool if you would have zoomed us like on one of your trails.
Yeah, that would
That
have
would have
been.
been cool. So what was life like for you when the pandemic first hit? Did it just like everything come up to an abrupt stop, or did you like glide into the pandemic like some people?
It kind of, well, I was still teaching. We still had to teach. But I had all of these things going, and they all ended. You know, our choirs at Lincoln were just popping, and we were on really one of the best ones we've had in my 12 years there. And we had been taking little tours. So within, what period is class? Period is third period chamber choir. Within a chamber period class, we would get on a bus, drive over to like Maple Barron or something, put on our choir t-shirts, or they'd wear their choir t-shirts there, warm up on the bus, give like a half-hour concert, get back on the bus and make it back in time for third period.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
Isn't that crazy? Yeah, and so we would have hit basically every Lincoln school by the end of the year, because it was all booked and ready to go.
That's cool. Do you think that could be something you could carry on to maybe like Stockton Unified, or would that just be like a Lincoln Unified thing?
Well, it's interesting. Probably just for us a Lincoln Unified thing, since we're in Lincoln Unified. Plus, every school is within about 10 minutes.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool. I think maybe if you like could branch that out to like senior citizen homes or something like that, to give them quite a little show. If you could find one within the distance, I think that would probably be like super awesome.
Oh yeah, well, we do a lot of things like that too.
Yeah.
Or we did.
Yeah.
We shall again.
Yes, absolutely. So what kind of got you into choir? What got you into music? I know that's how me and Sam know you. I mean, what's funny is my very first time meeting you wasn't at Lincoln High. It was actually when you used to teach music class at Tully C. Knowles, and you still had your little tuning fork back then, and I remember you hitting him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I mean, I taught at Tully Knowles for 20 years. You know, so you can try to grow up, But Peter, you're still going to be like a little fourth grader to me in my head.
Yeah, right.
But what gets you into music? I mean, that sort of combines sort of the two big things happening in my life. I mean, as I think I mentioned to you before, you've seen, I've just written a book about
Yes.
being adopted and being in foster care. So my birth mother was a concert cellist. So if you ask, how did I get into music? I'm hearing it for 9 months in the womb.
Yeah.
You know, fantastic cello playing, etc. So you're kind of born into it. But it's interesting that the world at TCK and voice, I was at a music teacher convention and I heard this wonderful children's choir where they could read music using what I taught you guys. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. And the lady gets up there and says, this little boy has never seen this piece of music before. And he gets up there and uses the hand signs. I don't know what he's saying, but you know, probably something like sol, la, sol, mi, re, mi, do. And at that point, I was probably wanting to be a band director. And I went, oh, no, 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 I want to do that.
Yeah.
I want to do that. And so I did. And I'm still at it. Yeah.
That's awesome. So now you don't only do choir, you also, you yourself play instruments. You play the French horn, correct?
Yes, absolutely. Which is kind of ironic since I don't teach it.
Yeah, yeah. What did you start, what did you get into first? Was it choir or was it the French horn that kind of you got into?
Oh, definitely the French horn. That's back in the 4th grade. And they had showed us the Disney animated version of Peter and the Wolf. So I didn't even see the French horn. I just knew that the wolf sounded cool and I wanted to be the wolf.
Yeah. That's cool. That's awesome.
That's funny. That's why I got into playing the flute, because I liked the song Oyo Como Va, and I heard it on a flute and I was like, I want to do that. I'm going to do that. And I eventually did. So that's kind of funny how we both had that experience of like, I want to do that. And I didn't even know it was a flute until my mom told me, like, that's a flute. And I was
Oh,
like,
that's great.
yeah.
I feel
So the
that way.
sound attracted you then.
Right.
Just-
yeah.
That's great.
Peter, did you play any instruments?
Yeah,
Did you play
so I
trumpet?
played, I'm sorry?
Didn't you play trumpet?
No, I didn't play trumpet. I played the clarinet in middle school. I played that for like a year and a half, maybe 2 years, because I wanted to play the saxophone. And obviously you can't, or for some reason you can't play the saxophone unless you've like played the clarinet for a year. So I did the clarinet. After doing clarinet, I was like, you know what, it's not even worth playing the saxophone. So I left music for a little bit. But then when we got into high school, I picked up the piano, and like I just love the piano. I still know a little bit about it, but I just like the range of sounds you can make, the kind of music you can make, from like classical to jazz to all, you know, the piano just basically sounds like a guitar. And then I played guitar too. That's what I in between clarinet. That's what kind of got it easier to read music and like piano, because it sounded like a guitar just with your fingers instead of strumming. So I liked that.
Oh,
Now, do you teach any like would you be willing to teach anyone like French horn if they wanted to learn like private lessons, or do you do anything of that nature?
I don't, but maybe in retirement I would. You know, I mean, it's kind of interesting because you learn a lot of things. I practice all the time. And interesting, when you guys were talking about the pandemic, part of the frustration, of course, is we're thrown into this world where we're not with the students and trying to get them out of a depression. It hit me one night, wait a minute, I could go and play French horn in front of their houses if they wanted. So I did. I literally put out, if you'd like me to show up to your house, your parent has got to be there. I will stand out, you know, on the sidewalk, give you a 20-minute concert.
I want that.
Yeah.
And seriously, I'll come over. And I've done probably about 30 of those.
That's so cool. I think that's really cool. That gives a kid something to look forward to, especially if they really miss you, or a teenager or anybody that you were really big on their life or an impact?
Well,
Yeah, you just start hungering for live music. And
Mhm.
I branched away from my kids. I've done it for lots of adults, and um, did it in the parking lot at Plymouth Square. That was a total trip. So that you had senior citizens on both sides listening from their balconies. And the French horn's a nice instrument for that because it carries,
Mhm.
yeah.
you know.
Well, that's what I was gonna say, like about the difference between like live music and just listening to it on a recording is that like you can feel the music, like not only just the sound waves, but like the music itself like makes you feel a certain way. You can hear like how the musicians playing the instrument, what they're feeling as they're playing it. It's just something different. And the fact that you can do that, that's I mean, go to people's houses and your students' houses and give them that, that's like that's really special.
Yeah, and totally COVID safe. You
Mhm.
know, they're far away and you're out there on the street.
I wonder
And
if their neighbors started listening too, because I definitely would have started listening if I heard someone playing live music outside.
oh, that totally happens. That totally happens. And what's great too, it's like it's opened up this little niche. Because I live here on a lake. So I can go out anytime on my dock
Mhm.
and play. And sometimes people will clap, you know, and let you know that they're there. And other times they don't because maybe they don't hear you or something, but they love it.
That's cool. So do you
Yeah.
live in Stockton or do you live?
Yeah, I'm here in Stockton, just
Oh,
off the
okay.
Yeah.
That's cool. I'm so jealous of all those kids that got to listen to you play your French horn. Do you have like a little website we can go sign up on? Because I want to listen. I haven't heard you play French horn in years.
Oh my goodness. Well, Peter's got my email.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. I'll shoot it to you, and then you guys can get into contact with that.
I love
But more on uh, your teaching of music. Um, so you taught at Tully C. Knowles for 20 years, and then you make the move to high school. Now, what's that the biggest challenge in that is going from elementary all to seniors basically to these almost grown adults. What's that transition like?
Well, currently, it's almost like I have the same setup at TCK, because TCK, what I said to them when I first came into the Lincoln Unified School District, they said, congratulations, you're going to be a music teacher here. I said, can I have one school and do all the classroom music? And I don't care which one. Can I have one? And they went, sure. Tully C. Knowles would be perfect. That school is wide open. And that's how it happened. Literally. And so I walked in there and there was good old Mary Anderson, who I thought was real quirky, you know, our secretary. And I thought, I love this lady. I
Yeah.
love this place. So then being able to stay for 20 years and watch that little kindergartner and be with that kid for 7 years, and they turn into a sixth grader and you go, and now we have the finished product. You know, now I have 2 middle school choirs, so 7th and 8th grade over at Sierra Middle School, and then 3 choirs at the high school. So it's sort of the same thing. You start off with those little 7th graders and they eventually turn into these mighty seniors. And a lot of them all again have 6 years.
Yeah.
What's a total trip, you guys, is at graduation where we sing the Star-Spangled Banner. And that is the one performance a year that I am completely terrified, just terrified, because you're up there. It's the Lincoln Field. The emotions are high. That sound system is to die for. Probably whatever it is, 6,000 or 7,000 people are going to hear you a cappella, and it's silent for just that moment. And you're thinking, think, guys, you can do it. But it's always weird because in the warm up for that, they sound like college kids. And you just go, here we go again. They have turned into college kids and they're out there in the world.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Have you seen any of your kids after, like, do they ever come back and like visit you from college or keep you updated on their college life?
Yeah. Back in the old days, you know. Now not so much, but I did show a video from 10 years ago of these 5 amazing high school kids who would now be whatever they'd be, 28 years old, and show them to a bunch of choirs, and then sent them some Facebook messages and said, hey, I played you guys today to the kids, and they were thrilled.
Wow.
You know,
That's something like, because I earlier, because we're technically recording for season 2, so I earlier, maybe like 2 or 3 weeks ago, I actually had Mr. Greeno in, and sat down and talked to him, and talked to him about teaching and his motivational speaking that he does, and we touched again on what it's like to be teaching for so long and seeing those kids go from kids to adults, and as they go on, and just having them come back, because you also coached basketball for, what'd you say, like 30 years, 20 years, something like that. So to see those kids now, men, come back, he said that's always like something that's good and bad, because it's good to see them, but it's bad because it makes him feel old. So I was like, yeah, I can imagine. Yeah.
yeah, that's part of the deal.
What's your favorite part about teaching? Like, if you could pick one thing that keeps you being a teacher, what would it be?
I think it's seeing a kid's discovery of the beauty that's inside of them, or the expression that's inside of them, and them lost in that moment of beauty around them. That is so exciting. And to just know that it's fair, especially with choral music. We all have a voice. You can't pay for that. You can't get this person got the most expensive saxophone and this person didn't. Everybody has that voice. And so it levels the playing fields. So when we all come together and make a sound that is meaningful to them, when they are all expressing and I'm expressing with them, that's a peak experience. And what I like too is, even though I'm the teacher and they are the student, which can often be, all right, please me, my subjects. Can you possibly, score well on this test? If not, I will give it back and you shall try again until I am satisfied. It's not like that when we perform. When we perform, here, I'll move back. We're all in it together. If I throw them a wrong cue, I screwed everybody over. Sorry. So I have to be on my game and they have to be on their game. And what's neat with educational music, which doesn't happen in professional music, though of course I love professional music, etc. You could, in a concert, be terrible, but you have an audience that loves you anyway, because it's your kid or your grandkid. Yay, Sammy and Peter are up there playing. I love them. Or there's little Paul Kimball on his little French horn. I love them. Okay, so you have that bass factor. But if you can produce something that actually legitimately is beautiful and meaningful and conveys something, excitement, fear, sadness, joy, to that same audience that physically loves their performer in there, that's magic. That's the type of thing you never forget.
That was like the deepest answer I wouldn't even have imagined you gave.
I love it. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I think about these things. Yeah.
Go ahead, Peter, my bad. Go ahead.
Well, I was gonna mention that, I was gonna bring up that you mentioned that you also do, or that there's a difference between educational music and professional music, and you played professionally for some time, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
How was that? How was your professional career in music compared to your educational career, or just your hobby in music, or just your like of music? Sorry.
Well, I was privileged to get into the Stockton Symphony as third horn, which is a hot seat, really young. I was in college, auditioned, and got that. So I was there for 27 years and got to play just some of the greatest classical pieces that are out there, classic orchestra pieces. The thing about it, as joyous as it is, as thrilling as it is to be around that much talent, there's a point where you're kind of supposed to be perfect. You really don't want to make mistakes.
Yeah.
Too much. There's a hot seat. That's not really quite the word. There is a pressure to get it done fast because you only have so many rehearsals. So here we are, we're going to do Tchaikovsky's Fifth Symphony. We have 4 rehearsals, go. Now you come in prepared, you come in knowing your music. You come in, you're expected to be able to play everything the first time at full tempo. So that the conductor is not saying you're playing a wrong note there, let me help you with the rhythm. It's much more, let's tune it up, let's get this type of sound, let's have less trombone, more horn, brass, you're overpowering the strings, et cetera, et cetera.
It's less about the music and more about the performance at that point.
It's about producing something really fast. So the pressure is there, but you also feel great. I mean, you have these comrades and you're like, let's do this.
Yeah.
So it was interesting when I finally dropped out of that racket, which now might be like 8 or 9 years ago. And I thought, am I ever going to play the horn again? And literally the next day I practiced for an hour and a half. You know, I went, okay, I'm doing this because I love it. And occasionally I play gigs. Occasionally I play paid gigs, especially like in orchestra pits. But now I'm really enjoying, like I said, a backyard concert, playing for people. And I'll even explain to them, I'll say, it is so easy to play wrong notes on this instrument. I'll even show you how. So I know you'll love me even if I do. And then I'm freaking free. I'm absolutely free. And I'll just go for it. I'll go for it in front of you almost more than I would in a symphony situation, you know. But I conduct, I have a symphony that I conduct actually.
Really?
Yeah. It was called the St. John's Chamber Orchestra because it was down at St. John's Church, downtown Stockton.
Okay.
And we moved to Zion Lutheran Church, kind of near Lincoln Center. And I've been the conductor of that for probably about 15 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And we do 2 orchestral concerts a year and 1 choir concert, all in January. So it's like a once a year festival.
You're doing so much, huh? Like
That's
a
what
lot
I
of
was thinking, like, man.
Are like
right now though, I'm walking around parks.
And you find the time to hike. You're making me reevaluate my time management. Would you be interested in playing anything like right now?
I'm not warmed up, so I can't play it well. I'm serious. If we were to splice in and say, let's come back in 15 minutes, then I could do it.
We could do, let's, like, cause I don't want to ruin the flow. Let's, I did want to not dive into your book, because obviously, if someone wants to read your book, go get the book and read it. But just to talk a little bit more about your book, because I know that's something that's really recent that you've come out with.
Right.
And then afterwards we can warm up a little bit, and maybe at like the end of the show we could do like a little 5-minute rehearsal or something.
Yeah.
Some scat or something. So you recently wrote a book on not only your love for music, but your experience being a foster child and being adopted. What kind of got you started on doing that?
Well, speaking for myself and speaking for other adoptees, you're thrown into trauma right at the beginning of your life. You had your birth mother, your person that you were with for those 9 months. And I had her for about 1 more week. And even if you're not aware of it because of words, but the baby actually remembers these things. So it gnaws at you. You have unanswered questions that you want to find the answers to. And as you get older and think about these things, at least in my case and many others, I do a lot of reading of other people's works and things. Just trying to live a fulfilled life, knowing that some of these things happened. I was able to reunite with my birth mother when I was about, I think I was about 38. Yeah, I was. So about 20 years ago. I was able to reunite with her and reunite a little bit later with my Armenian birth father and their extended family.
Wow.
Yeah, and adoption, so many people think of it as an absolutely happy ending, but it's much more complex than that. Ooh, your doggy, that was cute.
That was my husband.
Oh, that was your husband. Oh, I just saw something.
Sorry, guys.
So I was able to meet my birth mother, and it went well for about 3 months, and then she turned on me completely and said, never contact her again.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So that'll get you. You know, and I'm Mr. Kimball. You guys know me.
Right.
Yeah, that's
I can
absolutely.
make things happen. I can work with people. I can work with difficult people. But it was just too much reality for her. So I had to carry that. But it also caused me to then search out my Armenian birth father, like I said, and which led to his whole extended family who embraced me completely, all out. I still hear from them. We still go back and forth. They're in the book. They're thrilled about the book. When my birth, I don't want to give too much away, but whatever.
Right.
When my birth mother died, no one told me, did not know. And I found out a couple of years later, went to the grave site, and there's no marker. There is literally no marker right where I'm looking. And this is down in Los Angeles, in Whittier, California. I got some workers. They went and checked the office, and they went, she's right down there in the grass, 6 feet below. And this was, like I said, a professional cellist who had concertized, good reviews, the whole bit. So I asked them, can I design the marker? I'm her birth son. Will you let me do that? They went, sure. So I did.
Wow.
So facing one's own pain, and we all have it, and sharing it has actually made me a much happier person. Though you're just putting it out there.
Yeah.
Putting out, and it scared me at first because I thought so many people think of me as always happy Mr. Kimball. And I am happy Mr. Kimball.
Yeah.
But we all have our layers of emotion and experience.
Mm-hmm.
So
I think that's really important. I'm glad that you were able to share your experiences and what happened to you, because I do think that's important, that not everyone's constantly happy, that even some of the most happiest people that we have in our life can either be going through or have gone through some incredibly troubling times. And yeah, I would have never guessed that something like that you would have gone through. I mean, like you said, you're Mr. Kimball. When I was telling people that I was going to have you on the show, they're like, oh, the goofy Mr. Kimball, the happy, laughing, joking all the time. I'm like, yeah, I love him. He's awesome. Like he's coming in. It's gonna be great. But no, I think that's extremely important. And if people haven't read your book, I definitely would suggest to go and read it, because that's such an experience that not a lot of people have. There's people who have been adopted. There's people that have gone and reached out to their birth parents, but to have a situation like yours, is very unique, and I think it's important that you shared that.
Yeah. Well, and part of the deal was, especially when I'm involved in making really good music, like we're going there. I'm conducting some musical and we're in the big scene or something like that.
Mm.
My birth mother's in me. I
Mm.
can't like exercise her, and say, okay, you're out of my life. She is there. And so to accept that and to accept the pain that she would have felt having to give me away way back when and all of that, it kind of works.
Yeah.
So I love being goofy, as you know. I love cracking people up at any level, especially the little ones. So when you were
Yeah.
talking earlier, the difference between going to high school and then the littler ones, I had to change my game. I wasn't funny at first. I didn't think. At least I was trying to be, but you can't do cute little kindergarten things with a bunch of 10th graders.
Yeah, you can't jingle keys and yeah.
It doesn't quite work. But now that I'm 13 years into it, yeah, it's everything's fine and we have a great time.
Did you have any more questions, Sam?
No, but I did want to mention something and like put it on the record, because I don't know about Peter, but as a kid, I had a lot of like stuff happen and I would go to school like just in the worst of moods. And I just want to let you know, you really made my school days that much better. Like,
Oh.
I would come in just having, like, for example, my uncle passed away and I still had to go to school, obviously. And my first day back was really, really rough. And everyone was super nice to me, but you really stood out for me. I'm going to cry. I don't want to cry. You really made my day like a whole lot better when I was a kid. And I never really got a chance to thank you. So this is my thank you to you for really being that one glimmer of hope on the darkest of days that I had. So thank you very much. And probably have a lot more kids that you've done that for and you don't realize.
Oh, I appreciate that so much, because that's what the connection is. And you would have done the same thing for me. Kind of around the house doing this, and then you see a bunch of kids and you go,
right.
So it's a two-way street. It's just like this broadcast right here. I mean, I got back from my hike, like, I better take a shower. I gotta look nice. Let's do this. Okay, here we go. And then
just in a whole better mood. Yep.
I love doing that right there is like how I was feeling today, setting this up, because I was actually supposed to record another episode today. Today was gonna be a double header. But he had to reschedule, which is like the second time in a week. And I was like, oh man. So I was down about that. The studio was set up like 3 hours before it needed to be. And then, obviously I was handling like a bunch of Zoom problems. And I was just like, oh man, I don't want to have all these problems and then talk for an hour. But then once you get going, it's super fun. At the end, every time I do this show, my guests, my co-hosts, they always have a good time. I mean, Sam, this is what, your like 5th or 6th episode now?
Yep.
Yeah.
Wait to be signed on to the team. I'm practically here.
Yeah.
That's great.
So,
Yeah.
but
it's so interesting because the teaching now is, I mean, I'm doing Google Meets, but it's, the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
The Brady Bunch, and you're talking to them. It's kind of amazing what we get done.
Mm-hmm.
We've been doing this music. I didn't want to do virtual concerts where you record something by yourself, somebody puts it together for hours and they say, gee, you're great.
yeah.
I am arranging a lot of music and writing some original pieces that account for the latency issue.
Okay, yeah.
So in other words, like piano can play by itself, and that's fine. It's laying down a chord. And then Sam goes, I don't know, the splendor falls on castle walls. And then Peter goes, falls on, Mr. Kimball goes, castle, and the cat goes, walls. And it doesn't quite matter when we come.
Yeah.
It can be off a little bit, and it's fine. And dang it, we have kept this thing going now for however months it's been, 6 months, I think.
Oh,
That's
wow.
awesome. That the creative ways that you find, how to keep pushing through this pandemic, especially with what you do, the certain aspects I would think of school would be really hard, music being one of them, to do via Zoom or only online. And
Oh my God. Because all of a sudden we are at home and you go, I don't know how to do any of this.
mhm,
And I can't say, could you come over here and look over my shoulder and do this?
Right. Yeah.
Just having to use the computer to learn how to use the computer,
yeah,
you know. But we're all surviving. I mean, it's amazing what everyone has to do in whatever subject matters they're teaching.
It's definitely been a trial for me. I know Peter is lucky and doesn't have to deal with the Zoom every day, but I do. And it's rough sometimes just getting, because I work with kids with special needs. So just getting them to attend school was hard. Getting them to sit on a computer, whole nother ball game. So I totally feel your pain when it comes to Zoom and Google Meets and everything that you've had to learn on the computer.
More power to you. That's tricky.
It's been hard, but honestly, Zoom is really cool and it has its really cool quirks. Like I can make kids laugh with like my video filters, and I'll put a cat face on, or I'll put my sunglasses on, or so that's cool. But sometimes it's really hard getting them to want to be motivated to sit in front of a computer for 3-4 hours.
Totally.
that's what I noticed too. Like my siblings, I have younger siblings that are still in school, and the first things during the pandemic were watching my mom try and like not homeschool them, but like help guide them, like, hey, stay in class. They just forgot everything. They weren't in a school environment. They didn't know how to do simple math or basic English.
Mhm.
They just lost out on it. And that's something that was like a question I had for you, is like, what are like some of the most difficult things you find, and what are like your tips or your tricks to kind of get around those when it came to not only just music, but just teaching in general, trying to get students' attentions or trying to get students involved or excited about it?
Well, I mean, I go for as much personality as I possibly can. Still try to be funny and still try to say things to people and coerce them and bring out things, because now they have to sing solos. They have to sing so many solos, where usually with choir class or classroom music, etc., it's the whole group singing, and then maybe from a game or something like that, a few people sing solos. Now it's just constantly, here are the sight readers. Okay, I just sang them with you. Let's have Bob do it. Let's have Lorna do it. And what's really been great with the kids is they have risen to that. Because at first, of course, everybody is in shell shock. Everyone is too scared to sing on the computer. Even people that would sing in front of the class suddenly didn't want to do it on the computer. And I thought, we're going to die. Die in front of these kids. What am I supposed to do? But then it sort of got way better after summer. It's like everybody settled down and went, okay, we can do this.
Mm-hmm. So Mr. Kimball actually is going to do us the pleasure of giving us a personal concert. He will be playing What a Wonderful World, as made famous by Louis Armstrong. awesome.
Oh, I'm glad you like that.
Hold on, I'm gonna do the clap reactions.
That was a good thing for me to do, because without thinking all day long, oh, I said I'd play something for them. Just, would you play something?
No, that was really good. I liked it. That was awesome.
That was great. That was like the highlight of my day.
Yay.
Alrighty, so thank you, Mr. Kimball. This brings us to the end of the episode. I want to thank Sam once again for coming on and co-hosting another awesome episode. And thank you to you, Mr. Kimball, for coming on. If there's anything that you have going on that you want people to know about, like your book or any other musical stuff that you're doing, go ahead and let the people know.
Oh, well, number one, thanks to both of you. What an honor to be here. Seriously, it is so full circle to be back with these delightful kids who are now these wonderful adults making things happen. More power to you. And I really love what your podcast is doing here.
Thank you.
And all of that. It's interesting because I can't really come to this concert or come to that concert. It's been definitely a year of reflection. But the book that I've written, if you know any adoptees or anybody connected to the adoption triangle or experience that might want to gain some insights, you really might want to check out that book or another book. It is called We Are All Human Beings, An Adoptee Ponders. And basically, if you just Google that, it's going to appear, but it's available on the Barnes & Noble website. It's available on Amazon website, and then Outskirts Press has that. Also, something else that's coming up that it's not quite published yet. I've written a book of sight readers using solfege and everything, just like you guys would have done way back when. And that's almost ready to go. It's called Sight Reading Magic. So probably in about 2 or 3 weeks, it'll be out there. You probably Google it and find it on J.W. Pepper is probably where it's going to end up.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Well, fantastic. Thank you again for coming on the show. We'll be sure to put all those links in the description on how to get to those. And I'm pretty sure by the time your episode comes out, your next book should be out. You're reading sight music. So again, thank you. And we'll see you guys on the next one.